Hello, this is a presentation by Vincent Grau and Andrew Grau for FIPT 104, Kepler Arena Collapse. We're going to go over the building construction, who built it, what actually happened, and then what happened with the collapse. Okay. The history, originally known as Crosby Kemper Memorial Arena, but it was known in the area as Kepler Arena, was built in 1973. The main architect was Himmler John, and primarily it was used for the basketball team of the Kansas City Kings during that time. The grounds that it sat on was a 24.3 acre flat patch in the industrial area of Kansas City. It was designed again by Himlet John, and he was a part of Murphy Associates. Um, Funny note that he actually received an award by the American Institutes of Architects 24 hours before the collapse of the actual building, which we'll get into. So it was built in 1973 by Himlet John. Events leading up to the collapse. Again, 24 hours before the collapse, June 3rd, there was actually a award received by the architect. There was a rainfall at 6:45 p.m. that fell on the city with an increasing rate of 4.25 inches per hour, and there was actually winds of 70 miles per hour, which all contributed to the collapse of the building. Um, After the wind fell, after 6:45, about 30 minutes later, the central part of the roof, um, about 1 acre of the section, collapsed. The roof acted like somewhat of a piston and blew out the interior walls. Fortunately, there was only one employee that was there and heard the explosion or sounds of the building as it fell. Not explosion, but heard the noises, and the building fell. He was unhurt. Um, the hanger of the building again acted like a piston with all the weight of the rainfall on the building. Um, the arena was acting like a reservoir from the city to have excess rainwater to be collected on the roof, and then at one point was going to go ahead and then be released into the city. So the roof was ponding and collecting water before the collapse. And then consequently, as there was more weight, the roof collapsed. What actually happened, there was a major design fall which took place here. The focal point of the building was an exterior, which was a 4 acre flat roof, as you can see here in the main right picture. And it was comprised of steel tubes arranged into equilateral tube triangle trusses. But with the weight of the building and the excess pond water, these trusses here failed. And it was a major design fall uh, with the building. Essentially, the hanger components um, failed with all the weight. Also, a contributing factor that contributed was the rainfall throughout the previous 4 years. So the weight of the 4 years rainfall and the corrosion of these hangers ultimately failed when the weight of the pond of the water of the rain on the building. Luckily, at this day, there was no fatalities, but the major collapse was due to the weight of the rain, really to prevent the Kansas City sewer system to get excess water. So after the collapse, an investigation was launched, and the city filed a court case against the builders to do repairs and improvements. The center of the roof was raised to cause it to slope. 14 drains were added along the roof afterward, and the hangers were welded to the trusses instead of bolted. Ultimately, the hangers needed to be not bolted, but actually welded. And ultimately, that was the demise of the roof. I appreciate you guys taking a look at this presentation. Here are our references, and thank you for taking time to review our presentation.